This Sunday show is a segment just about anyone can relate to. It's about your boss or a previous boss. Sure, we may appreciate them. However, there are some that just seem downright heartless or manipulative. From a car accident to a death, many of us experience situations in different ways, but for some, these traumatic events have a lingering mental impact. Do you ever have trouble turning off your work phone when you're at home? How about getting caught writing a work email when you're supposed to be enjoying a nice meal with your family? Unfortunately, for most of us, we've all been guilty of one of these things. Now it's time to be more aware. U47700 sounds like a science experiment, right? Well, it is. This synthetic opioid was initially created to be tested solely on animals, but it's now in the hands of humans to recreationally get high. Whoops, sorry, I was busy taking a selfie. You know, it's interesting that the term selfie has become so commonly known in almost every household, not just among millennials. Happiness is a word so many people try to define. In fact, if you type in how to find happiness on your computer search engine, more than 16 million results pop up. So what is it? Join Dr. Tanmoy Sharma and me, Kristina Kuestner, as we separate the differences between love and lust, what love looks like in the brain, as well as if lust really is a bad thing. A small plane crashes into an unoccupied house north of Denver, catches on fire, and the pilot amazingly walks away with only minor injuries. The suspect was a former inmate who had been released after serving 8 years in prison, much of it in solitary confinement. When people think of Africanized bees, they think of it as a threat to humans. How concerned should we be? 47-year-old Randy Cook was shot and killed on New Year's Day this year. Now, up until now, very few details have been released regarding the circumstances surrounding his death, but the coroner did rule the death a homicide. More serious drugs like meth and cocaine are cleansed from the body in less than 48 hours. Pot can stick with smokers for months. Many may say that alcohol eases the pain of the past. However, a recent study conducted by Johns Hopkins Medicine. What's really interesting is how Sovereign continues to help the patient even after they leave. Let's talk a little bit more about telehealth.
I appreciate that question. We have a fairly robust telehealth program.
What are some of the symptoms of being high or of an overdose?
And certainly some people will feel this, this high, this euphoria with it.
U47700, also known as pink, is an opioid drug created in 1976 by pharmaceutical company Upjohn, which is now owned by Pfizer. What was once tested on animals is now in the hands of humans to recreationally get high.
It's definitely just in the last year been something that has been of great interest in that we'd never seen it before, nor had we ever heard of any study even, describing it.
In the last 10 years, physicians have seen an explosion in the use and availability of novel psychoactive substances. Now, more than 30 years later, U47700 joins the trend of designer opioids Chinese labs are openly selling online. In theory, these purchases are supposed to be for research purposes only.
There's a huge desire for people to abuse recreationally these novel drugs, whether it's to avoid detection on drug screening, whether to just search for the new high, whether it's just much more available as, people crack down on certain drugs. And certainly some people will feel this, this high, this euphoria with it. And so they may get that if they use, a proper, what we'd say, recreational dose. But if you use too much, you'd get some of the really, scary side effects would be your breathing would stop, you can lose consciousness and, die from it.
With U47700 becoming more common, major questions arise.
One of the real challenges with a drug like this is it was never studied in humans that we know of. And so it was kind of made in the laboratory and tested on some animals, but no idea in terms of what dose you would use therapeutically, and it never really was used therapeutically as a pain, medication. So there's very little information on, well, how much would you use recreationally? How would you use it?
Physicians have used naloxone or Narcan to reverse the side effects. However, U47700 is leaving many in disbelief.
I think it's crazy that somebody would buy something recreationally and you don't really know exactly even what it is, let alone a drug that even if you knew what it was and you knew the dose, you don't even know really what dose to use. That's amazing to me. I mean, that seems pretty desperate to me.
But this desperation is commonly experienced by people already addicted to opioids. It's also prevalent in recreational users who may be well on their way to becoming addicted to these substances. For Sovereign Health, I'm Kristina Kuestner. A young boy's moment of despair becomes a sign of hope after attending Sovereign Health's adolescent facility in Rancho San Diego. We spoke to David and Cal Saul about the adolescent facility and how a suggestion to admit for assessment and treatment became a solution for the family. Here's their story. Tell me a little bit about your experience at Sovereign.
It was honestly really good. They helped me learn to cope with everything that was going on. Like, I would get really upset, and it was hard. It was like, I felt like I couldn't control it, honestly. And then they taught me how to, before I get upset, I go in my room and read or count to 10, like, and just shut everything out for like a minute. Stuff that I didn't even think about doing, and it honestly really helped.
So how did you feel before going to Sovereign?
Hopeless. It was very hard to communicate with everybody, even my friends, and my friends sort of left me because it was like I couldn't communicate with them that well. It was a lot harder for me to take social cues. Now it's a lot easier. I still have a long way to go, and I know that, but Sovereign did help me, and honestly, they changed how I live to today.
To learn more about the programs at Sovereign Health's adolescent facility in Rancho San Diego, go to sovteens.com or call 866-512-1981.